like. Just like a really smart, all complete.
Make sure. Is that a good text size for everyone?
Yeah.
All right. Let me figure things out. We'll see you later. All right. Get started. Tonight, I want to talk about Rails generators, what they are, what they're used for, how to understand them, how you can make your own. So, reason I'm in an empty shell right now is I want to do the thing that you first do when you're starting Rails, and that is Rails new. If I just do Rails new without providing any context, what do I get? Well, I get a message, a load of options saying how to use it, what my options are, and then the general description of how to use it, what it's for. It's for creating a new Rails application with the default directory structure and so on. You can provide these options to specify what kind of environment you want. And this is the general structure of a Rails generator usage document. And so when you're first starting Rails, well, first thing you're doing is using a generator. So we do Rails new, call schools, go to the Postgres database, and say that we want API only. And that's going to go off, and it's going to use Rails to create a load of files. So that's still running. Funnel and gems probably. The majority of what it's doing is generating files for you. And so it'll print everything that it created. You got your README, you got your application structure, binaries, configs, etc. And so when that's done, you can cd any folder and see the folder structure that you're familiar with. And being that it's generated most everything we need, we didn't generate any anything for data yet. I can just do Rails S for Rails server, and that will spin up, and I can go to localhost 3000, hopefully. Oh, and we got an error.
In the mega database.
Yep. YOLO.
Because I specified Postgres. Should have thought about that, but that's all right. I got another app that's not using Postgres. We'll just swap out of here. But point being, it generated a lot of stuff for us. But I have another project here. It's already generated. So we can have some fun with this. So Rails new is probably something that most people have used before. The second most common thing that we probably used is the scaffolds. The scaffold generator is probably comes to mind when you think of generators. This is what we can use to build the entire MVC structure for a resource. So we can do Rails G for generator, scaffold, on like an items table, and it's in my history here. We're doing a name, UPC, and description, and that's going to go off and generate all the files. So you got your model, you have the migration sheet, create the table and database. We have, in addition to our routes file. We have a controller, there are reviews, we have tasks, and I have JBuilder files now too. And let's look at a few of them real quick. Create items, migration. That's going to create our items table in the database. We have a item model, probably pretty underwhelming. Just model. A controller is probably more interesting. It's going to have our all of our common CRUD routes index show, view, edit, create, update, everything working out of the box. So let's save my database. I'm gonna try SDB create here. I have a shortcut for this. This is DB crop, DB create, DB migrate.
I believe you can do just DB reset as well.
DB reset does not work in the in this state that you have because there's no DB schema file. Like if I do like Rails DB reset, I don't want to use that, but
Still in the schema load.
you're wrong. I'll work that time because now I have a schema. Yeah. Anyway, also a shortcut for Rails server. Bring that up. Now we go to the little post 3000. Is this a current error message? No, it's not. We'll go 3000 get our Rails 8 logo. We want to go to /items. And this view is caused by a couple of things. It is the default scaffolds are unstyled, but I also have some leftover states I'm messing with KLM CSS on this. But there are typically no styles, but you can work with everything. So we have a new item form, give it a name, bolts, UPC, description, create it. Create successfully, go back to the list, you can show the item, you can edit the item, back to items, show and destroy. So really great for just getting all your resources up and running, especially for a new application. You have the model structure in mind. You just want to see the basic thing work. So very handy thing. But this is the scaffold that actually contains other generators. So we clear this out and do Rails G scaffold -h. We're going to see some more documentation. This is linked. So you have some examples here, but I scroll up. We see our options. See our first set of options, which are for the scaffold generated directly, but we also have things for Active Record, things for testing, things for scaffold controller. And these are lower level generators that are also built in the process. So and I won't go into now, but the scaffold generator, the scaffold controller also reaches out to the controller. And point being, we can break this down into smaller bits. So if below what I have here, if I want to generate just the model by itself, I can do that. So there's a else also help for that first. And it should say something to the effect that it will make the model and should make the migration too. Talks about being able to specify the fields in the command. Yes.
What's the difference between no and skip?
Good question.
Like no skip.
So you can provide skip I've seen that on, I'm not sure that's a good generic. We're going to look at the code for some of these in a little bit. So,
Which one are you referring to? Oh, sorry? Which one are you referring to?
Just-
Oh, like, in anything, because like, like before you started, I've like done like, dash skip test framework. And I saw a couple, there's also no test framework. I'm like, listen to this one, no and skip. Usually just alias.
probably aliases, right?
I don't know. Usually, yeah.
There is one in the controller that's called skip routes specifically. And so that might just be like a prefix or something, but I'm not looking into that.
I'm just curious if you knew like,
Yeah. But once that's on something that might answer your question later.
Yeah, like I guess for an example, there's like there's force plural, no force plural, and skip force plural.
Yeah.
Oh, like I just know what the nuance
If
between
we are
these.
opposites, I think it would be like, yeah, I don't know. We can look into that. So yeah, use model. You can do let's do what it says again. Give it the name of the table, and this time it's going to make the migration and the model. It's also going to add a test for it. I'm just going to while we're on that one, pull that away. Third most common scaffold that, or not scaffold, third most common generator we've all probably used is the migration. And the migration one is what gets used most frequently in perpetuity, because it's kind of impractical to just write your own migration file. So I do Rails P migration, create items. This also takes a list of options if you want to create a table and specify the fields in their data types. You can do that. So this knows how to write the entire create table statement. So create items. We have our class. We have our change method. We have our create table statement. And the reason I reach to it all the time, and I think I speak for everyone, that if you were to just create items at RB and B migrate and try to run it, well, it's going to complain that it can't version it. It needs a timestamp up here in the beginning of the file name in order to convert it, and that's for I guess put into a table called schema migrations, if I remember correctly, and it's basically how Rails keeps track in your between your application. Say you have a development staging production situation, it'll keep track of which migrations have been run in that environment. So the migration generator is helpful. So those are some of the migrations or some of the generators that we commonly use. Yeah, we'll list of them. You can do Rails G by itself, and it's going to list out all of the generators within Rails that are currently available to you. So we have the ones that we've seen: controller, model, scaffold, some of the newer ones like authentication, some solid cable stuff, solid cache. You're setting that up. And some of them actually kind of inherit from each other. So if you do application record in Rails, it's going to drop down into the active record one. Same with authentication, probably we do Rails authentication. It's got to make the ERB files for that. So these generators reference each other. So let's actually go look at a few in code. The scaffold one is probably most interesting. When you go in your first time, it might seem underwhelming. This is the Rails scaffold that we were at earlier. I'm actually making that a little small. So Now they have some base generators going on here, but a lot of the common tags you'll see are class options and hook for. So class options are going to be that's going to relate to that SIP stuff that we saw earlier. You can you get command options that you get. So I guess you can specify your own group here, or if you want to use a group. And then hook for is going to be when you invoke Rails scaffold, it's going to run all the public methods in here first. There aren't any, and then it's going to invoke scaffold controller. So we're going to want to jump to the scaffold controller to see more. This has a little more meat to it. So there's a create controller files, which is this is going to look for a template with this name. I guess it's it's an API. It's going to be API controller. It's a regular one. It's going to be controller.rb. This is going to be the reference to the template file, which there's a templates folder inside the generator structure, and that's going to be essentially ERB. But this TT stands for floor template. It's what the generator templates are based off of.
What do you call it? I'm sorry, what do you call it?
Thor template.
Thor, as in
There's a Thor gem.
Thor is the command line generator.
Yeah. What we'll see here is mostly ERB structure. I think that you can use ERB directly. I think one of the differences is you can't access, if I remember correctly, you can't access instance variables directly from Thor templates. You have to make methods or methods or adders or readers for everything. But anyway, that's referencing a controller template. It's going to, when you call this template function, it's going to copy this template, populate it with whatever data is referenced in the template to this new location. So that we're just copying it to app controllers, etc. And then when that's done, it's going to run all these hook words. Now, hook for is a little confusing at first. The simplest example here is going to be resource route. This is saying, okay, go run the Rails resource route generator, which is up here. It's in the same part of the same Rails generator module. But the reference generators may not be in Rails. This could be pointing to other things. So if it's not in the Rails generator, so it's not like a direct sibling. It's going to look for another generator family with the reference name, and it's going to try to find one with the same class name. So it would look for template engine scaffold generator. And the third level of complexity around this is that would be an alias of something, which in this case, in the case of template engine and test framework, template engine is alias to ERB. It's a configurable thing, and same with test framework. So test framework is going to be test unit in a newly generated app. Both those are configurable. Any others that are worth mentioning here? That we go into resource route quickly. This would just be, this would just be adding the root to the root file. So now that we kind of understand, actually, I'll show you something I made. So this tree structure is it's a little bit hard to visualize. So I went to AI and I asked them to make something that's easier to read around this. And came up with this. So it's just the list of the generators and the different generator frameworks. So there's various ones in Rails that have like you have active record, mailers, jobs, ERBs. I don't think this is complete. I think this is like the first pass at it, and I haven't verified it. I think the Rails ones are mostly correct, but it'll show you like a controller. It's going to call a template engine controller, test framework controller, and helper. Pretty cool. And yeah, that's just trying to visualize.
Was this ChatGPT?
That one's Claude.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of how it works. Like how do we use them? Are there any questions? So one of the simplest ways we can start implementing them is you can actually override an existing template. So you make a template in lib templates, and you reference the generator, so lib templates, ERB generator, scaffold generator, and you give it the name of one of the templates in there. It will reference your override instead of the generator's own template. So I'm going to make that folder, and I'm going to make lib templates, ERB, scaffold, index, HTML, ERB, on the way to our template. I'm going to try to remember whatever else I have here. But they don't want plural table name, that's what they called it. I'll just reference the docs, but I get it wrong. You get the count, and then I'm going to do human name. Human name pluralized. Rails G scaffold. I want again. See how much I got right from memory. Any of it. So now those are my items index. Yeah, I got it right. I should put a. I need to put an at behind there. So essentially, I just did update the index template to just show the count of items instead of actually listing the items. That's an easy way to do some generator overrides. But oftentimes, we want to do more than just override templates. We might want to actually build our own generator. So I do that next. I want to do blow that away, and then trying to remember where I'm at. I'm gonna make a new generator, and the goal for this generator will be to check user authentication by default. And we'll never do this way in a real production app. Question?
Question. If I wanted to override the default, but still use the default, is there something I could do to say, give me the contents of the current generator, and then
You want to override?
I want to use the current one, but add on to it
Like a pen.
like a pen.
I didn't look into in theory, you'd be able to just compare it from it. I think I tried that once, but there's some nuance to it, and I just wasn't sure how was the right way to go about it. But in theory, yeah, you can create a generator, inherit from that class, and then change whatever functions you need to change and add. I think one of the tricky things is the public level methods all get run in order. So if you add a new function there, is it going to, what order is that going to run in? That might be important for what you're trying to do. So I've just been creating new ones from scratch. But I'm going to use the generate generator Against generators, just have their own generators. I'm going to put it in the Rails namespace. There's a reason for this. I haven't been able to get it to work, but we'll try it. So using the generate generator, I have lib generators, Rails, off controller. So we'll open that up. And this is what you get by default, references the templates folder. And so first thing I want to do is create a controller class with the name. Something important here is it gives you a namespace. It inherits from namespace by default, meaning that it expects you to provide some name thing as the first argument. If you don't want to do that, then you just inherit from base. So we're going to use namespace here. So we'll first I want to make sure I get that argument. So let's just do setup, and then we'll just do maybe call this function say something more fun. Just call it file. Break it out to 3. So we can start running that. So we can do Rails G, Rails off controller, and we're going to get that later. Works, right? Yep, printed note. So we have that as a it's an option. I'm going to save that as model name. We can reference it in our template. So now we're going to make a template instead of people generators, Rails, off controller, templates, controller RB, ERB. Okay, so we're in the ERB context, we can just reference now. So do a model name. I want to analyze it. Controller, inherit from application controller. And since we're doing off, I'm going to devise a loop before action. Authenticate user. What it is. Now when we that actually copy it first. So we'll do later there's another function. Add controller. It'll be a template controller RB ERB to add controllers file name as a folder name, and then file controller RB. Now try running that, see what we get. Okay, so create file. Yeah, we have a nodes controller, and we have a before action for authenticate. But you may not always want to authenticate all controllers, so let's add a class option for skip off. And you type Boolean, and you go to the description. So we'll say skip off authentication for this controller. And that's going to show up in the help. We didn't fill out the usage doc, but some things will still show in there. So there's our skip off. I guess you could do like skip off, whatever you did. Oh, this is skip. Yeah, that is still confusing. So I think the context around this might be if you hit a conflict, right? So we've already run this before. Whenever to go out file away. So we're gonna do it now.
You're skipping skip.
So this is actually, it works directly. It should give me a prompt. That was identical, so it didn't. the big display. Yeah, so this is gonna stop and ask me what do I want to do here. I have a conflict on Friday. And I think if I go back, I could do dash S that already exists. It's just skip that. Yeah. As it skip that, I don't know. I'm curious, like skip. Does that mean it's going to ask you?
I think it might not even hit that.
It's like,
You're
yeah.
skipping the skip.
It's like you explicitly asked me about the skips, I guess. We'll sort of go that way, and then so we've added it. We've added the skip off option. So to use it, I'm going to put it in an instance there. So far, skip off is going to be an option that's going to be skip off. That's just going to be a really short boss. So now I added the template, and this is going to look a little interesting. So when you're doing ERB templates for template files, you got to be careful with the indentation. So if you're doing like if statements, or if blocks, it's going to be like in the beginning of the first column. So they have like it skip off. You gotta use this dash thing at the end, otherwise create an extra new line. A little hard to explain. I'll show what the consequence of not doing that is after. I just want to show that. Now we skip off.
What about skip off skip?
I don't think I exported that. Oh, no, it didn't work. Oh, it's a plus skip off. What I have to do. There we go. So
Oh, okay.
the reason I called all this out is, well, normally like a regular old ERB file, you might be tempted to just use it like, I indent it like that. It just
Nice.
In this context, it reads better, but when I regenerate it, wait, no, I don't want to skip it that time. I want to see it. Yeah, it's gonna indent it way over, and it's gonna indent the lines after it. Not sure I can follow why it's indenting the lines after it. So that, but yeah, you want to put your stuff at the first columns. You can.
Is it first column or just one back? Like what if you nest conditionals?
And nest conditionals. I mean, what after that? I think like
Just do another unless, right?
yeah.
So do the same. You can do the same conditional unless skip off, unless skip
Mhm.
off.
If true, still it's fine.
We'll do that. Yeah, so
Like, can you delete it and run it again? Maybe it did.
yeah, I was deleted also. Let it go again. No controller. Yeah, same thing.
So if you go back to your scaffold, so and you just make the before action go to like column 1, 0, column 1. What does that look like?
It should
Yeah, like, what's what happened?
No,
between-
like if you move the before action, column 0, but leave these indented. And move that all the way to the left,
Move this all the way over.
yeah, and then you can indent those, yeah. What does that do?
This one ended up in the right line from the end. It did not. Yeah, I needed,
Can we do it the way you had before, where all the conditionals, all the ERB tags are like all the way to the left?
like this.
Yeah.
But the before action has the
Is
indent.
that, yeah.
I think that's gonna. Yeah, because it ended up on the first column. Yeah,
All right, so you want all of your
So if you're
conditionals
doing-
on the left.
if you're doing conditionals or any kind of, yeah, ERB block,
And kind of flow control.
you gotta put that all in the beginning. And then your content can be indented how you'd like.
That's weird. That's fun, but weird.
And the reason you need these ticks here is, this will, if you don't have this, there's some kind of new line thing that it adds. You don't need this in ordinary ERB, but if I open this up now, it's gonna now have an extra space before and after my content. So that's the reason for that. Just following that out. You can see this in the floor templates as well. Was just trying to think of anything else to show with this. So something that you should be able to do according to the Rails guides, because I put it in the Rails namespace. I should be able to configure this to replace my existing controller generator. I tried this earlier today. It didn't work, but we're gonna run it again, and I'll show you what I'm comparing this again. So the big generators, open a block, and then G controller is off controller. And if this were to work correctly, I should be able to use the scaffold, and it would use controller generator that I specified in place of its own. I believe by the item controller. Yeah, that didn't work. They have an example of using helpers. Let's see if we can go down to as we're running templates overlay. Here we go. So their example here, they created a helper generator. Just create a file with a single module, and they're able to go and do big application RB, big generators, do G helper, my helper. I think I got working with helpers last week, but good to get working with helpers. So that's just an interesting note there. Something I wanted to add on this one was the hook for. So I can still reference any other generators to call after. So I can do a hook for test framework. And I do as controller. So if I don't do as, it's going to look for an off controller generator within the test framework. And have power to let's get rid of this.
So is the typical workflow that you make a generator for each file you want to create, and then you make a generator that calls all the other generators?
I think it's around the concept. So the other controllers, they are, it's going to generate the controller, it's going to generate the tests. They consider the views part of it too, so it's going to generate the views. But it's not. It's just considering the request files that you're going to be interacting with, not the model, not the data. You do generate the model, it's going to generate the model and the migration to create that table. So you are creating multiple files here.
Yeah, but you're using the hook for you're like
Yeah.
doing them all individually,
Yeah,
and then you're using
we
one.
look at the model.
Because when we looked at the controller, it looked like there were a lot of
That's right.
doors.
No, that's absolutely right. So you look at the scaffolds.
Yeah, the scaffold.
It's going to call scaffold controller, and that in turn is going to call. It's going to create controller files, but it's also going to call resource, and it's also going to call. Where's the ORM one? We're in this side.
There says ORM at the top of this file,
ORM the generated controller for it.
class option ORM.
I'm just curious if that's part of it. Still, I think you're right. I think it's related to this. If some of these are inherited, it's like it's including resource helpers, and there might be another.
Wait, scroll to the top. It says require Rails generator resource helpers.
Yeah, include resource overlay.
Yeah, as I said, they have things a little bit split out here.
Just
I
click,
do
just
know-
click on it and
Oh,
in the file, it should find it for you. No, the actual line name.
Include resource
so
helpers.
this,
Click that and then I'll find it on the sidebar. That's cool.
Yeah, the goofball little helper thing. It's pretty useful.
model helper, thing, like controller stuff.
I see ORM at the bottom. ORM class.
Begin ORM generator action models.
Constantize.
So this including it? Yeah, because there is an active model generator.
You need to have ORM as class option to invoke ORM class.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's calling it somehow. I forget how to get to.
Well, there's ORM instance and there's ORM class. So what's below this is ORM instance.
Yeah, it's taking class and instantiating it. Can I get to ORM or can I get to? I could jump to hybrid model and try to navigate to it. Oh. I'm lost. Yeah, that's just the active model. That's not what I'm looking for. Active traffic had the generators. This had,
Active record would be your ORM
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why I was referencing active models.
because
but
that's the fallback. There was a begin and then a rescue.
this is where I know it ends up here at some point. I don't know the navigation of it, but this is where all this out. This is where you ultimately end up, where it's going to create the migration file and the model file.
Okay, can you pause here?
Yep.
Okay, so there's no hook here. They just do it all. Okay.
Makes sense. There's a bit of a test framework. So if we had a hub for that framework on, and we pointed the controller one here, and we Rails off, we run that again, we should get the test files for it. And we basically have our nodes controller and we have our nodes controller test now. Now we'll just open that up, see that we have that mini test controller file. And this is a good segue to talk about test generators. So everything that we've run so far, it's been generating mini tests, but if you're in a Rails app and you're using RSpec and you use any kind of generators, you'll notice that it does not generate any test files. It knows how to do that. So let's blow all this away, and we will go to our gem file and add RSpec Rails. Module.
So I take it these gems have their own generators.
Okay, we just got a new one now.
So can we do Rails generate and it'll identify
I think I had to
the,
do, I had to do this.
Right, Gmail.
Yeah. So this,
So
this itself is a generator.
when we type Rails generate, we'll now see RSpec in the list of things. We can do.
I think we might. I'm not sure if it includes dependencies.
Yeah, I think Gem you have, so solid queue, solid cache, solid care, well, those are all gems.
We do have it. Yeah, it did add it, and it knows that it's in the tree.
Because when you define these things, they're all defined in rail ties.
Yeah.
That's the hook into Rails.
Now we have RSpec, and we do Rails P scaffolds again. Files creates. We now have spec files instead of test files. That's what that test framework is naming so generically. It says it's meant to be configurable. If we look at
Do we have to tell it not to use mini tests? Or it just knew if you have RSpec?
that configuration is set. Go into RSpec Rails and pull up that file. It's one of the rail types files. We look for test underscore framework. In here, where it does generator setup, it sets the test framework to RSpec. That's RSpec Rails.
Okay,
Rail
so
type.
if you wanted to, you could change it back with your own generator.
I want to not use RSpec in my.
Yeah, like let's say you wanted a very specific generator to generate mini test instead of generating an RSpec version. You could use that command to transfer it.
Yeah, I
back.
don't know if it would work. I have to test this. You might be able to go into application config and
So you can't, I would just do it in the generator itself.
You want when you generate a test to generate mini test instead of RSpec?
Just for fun.
Well, you can do it. So that's what the definitions are for. Like I think it's called test framework. When you load RSpec, it's setting test framework to RSpec. If you just manually, like an application over here, you change what generator you use, it will then tell it to use the others.
I didn't save my bundle. Apple should have committed. Does it work?
Yeah.
It did work. Yeah, now back to test unit. Even though we do have RSpec install RSpec, you could create your own RSpec file and it would still run with the, you overrode it in application configure. The scaffolds would still use test unit. Good question. Let's see. So we've shown how to override a template. We've shown how to create our own generator. What are some possibilities for all this? We've shown how to basically override an existing thing and swap it out in your scaffold. But we've also shown RSpec. The RSpec install itself as a generator. Divide, if you ever use Divide, that has its own set of generators. So there's plenty of generators we probably use from day to day. But for making our own, the TD model.
Right now, sometimes it's probably still on.
Let's see if it's still connected. Still connected. Cool. So, something I've been running into on various applications is I have some things that could be scaffolded. I have other files and configurations that they're completely custom. They're not, they don't touch anything that would be generated by the scaffold, but they are directly related to the fields that I would generate with the scaffold. So I just started thinking about how could I make a generator that could impact the areas that I want to affect. So I've created something called the JSON generator. The idea is you create a schema as a JSON. So I have a user schema where I specify my model name, specify the columns that I'm going to add, and this is a pretty basic example. Just draw string fields. There's name, data type, and nullability, and then I can add any other configs that I want. So in this app and some of my other apps, I have a base filter class that takes an argument for what I want to sort and filter, sort and search by default. And it has a default argument of names, but if name doesn't exist, then it will have to go back and change it every time. So it'd be nice to be able to specify what that field should be right from the get-go when I populate that. So that's just an example of, adding a custom configuration. That's a configuration file. What does the generator look like? So all the JSON generator, here's some base. It takes an argument, which is a path to the JSON file, pulls the model name, underscores it if it needs to be for different things, pluralizes it for different things, and then I'm hand rolling different things. A lot of these probably could still reach out to the scaffold. In model, I'd probably get away with that, but just for simplicity's sake and proving the concept, I rolled everything manually. So that model migration controller views, I have some custom list views for mobile versus desktop view. I have a navigation header that I use in a lot of my apps. So whenever I'm creating a new resource, I want to add it to the nav header. And then beyond this, I just have some fun with AI and making C data. So I haven't really cleaned any of that up yet. So I'm going to bundle because a couple of gems that I added to this. Tailwind CSS Kaminari. And now I'm gonna give a precipitated base. I'm gonna do that, and I'm going to I should have done a reset command here actually. I gotta run the generator version of our great database. And I'm going to Rails G JSON group user schema first. And so this is going to look on the surface very similar to the scaffold. We'll run migrations.
Okay, so you have an append.
Yes. So appended on its own seed. So this is, it's just adding to the bottom of the file. A little different than a root where root you want to put it at a very, you want to put it inside the class, I think.
Yeah.
So like it's going to put it in, or not pass inside the block. So whereas seeds, I don't care, it's just a script. So it's going to keep appending to the bottom of it.
Okay.
So we've done that. Now if I use the dev restarts, I have Calvin on now. Now I'm gonna go to both of those.
You have like a pen. I wonder if you have append at line number.
I think it's like after, it does some text match so that you can do things. That's cool. So those methods are interesting because some of them are specific to Rails and some of them are full. Like route wants Rails, but the append file is still. You have to look in both places to find what you can use.
Okay.
Yeah, appended file sounds like it's probably a pretty common script activity.
Well, because I'm thinking here, you could use the existing generators and then append to line 52, append to line 62, append to line 23. Just the little differences that I want, like adding the default sort.
Oh, I see. Like
But you also
like
write
a file and then figure out like where, based on the awful length, where should I append to?
Yeah, and you also do a runtime check where you say this generator file from Rails is 62 lines of code. If it's more than 62 lines of code because they changed it, then all of my lines are out of order, so I got to fix my generator.
So I had to use gsub file for this navigation partial.
Is that like a regex find and replace?
It's doing a regex kind of thing here because by default this file is empty, but I want to append to my list links. So yeah, it's grabbing for the ID.
Did AI do that one?
Yeah, that one. That was AI. I could probably do that mistake.
Yeah, I guess my question is like, so you built this, like, this is awesome. Are you planning on bringing this into every single app you built? Like this generator, how are you planning on doing that?
Every single app.
I guess every single app you're gonna bring this into.
For like my personal stuff, I'm probably gonna have. I'm not going to bring it into the application. I might have a generator repo that where I have my template list that I like, that basically my own scaffold that I like to use. And I can use it externally and then copy the files over. I haven't fully fleshed that out yet, but
Just make a gem and then move the gem up
Yeah.
together and everything. It's probably
Yeah.
the simplest way to do it.
that's good.
Gem,
idea.
overrider gem.
Ryan's generator overrider.
Consumer generator consumer overrider gem.
RGO. Ryan's generator overrider.
Yeah, Ryan's generator overrider gem. RGOG.
The whole way I didn't show down here is using Faker, but it's trying to. I don't really like the AI spit out. It's trying to guess the field.
It's a lot.
But now I got the years. You can look some examples. So that can, my standard.
Right.
Edit. Delete. And I can do relationships too.
And
So,
are the tests passing?
I didn't generate tests in this one.
Okay.
That would be,
Is this gonna be open source? And are you accepting PRs?
yeah, if I make it a gem, yes. If I, you know, there's some things that need to be fleshed out for it to be kind of broader. I wouldn't consider this anywhere close. I'm just trying to get a proof of concept. What I'm trying to do is figure out what kind of things I want to make. So, I don't know, still letting that out. But
Do other people use a schema like this for their generators?
I don't think so.
no.
No.
Okay.
That's why when I saw this, I was like, oh, what's happening here?
DSL.
Yeah, because you know, ordinarily the scaffold, right? Like we've seen a few times, like scaffold, like you have to pass in all these things. And,
Yeah.
like I could do that, but like if I have all my fields and all my custom configurations, this is also just an example. I have a handful of things like this, and if I were to do that all in one command, it would get a little bit.
Yeah, I'm totally.
What's the name of your generator?
I'm just calling it JSON generator. I haven't
So,
really thought about a name because, but
so technically you could use something like, okay, can you pause here? You hit enter.
I was generating two more. If I want to show an example of relationship.
Yeah, but if you hit the up arrow,
For what?
no, like where you were
This.
doing your JSON. So technically you could have this call other generators with the JSON you provided. And so instead of people writing all their generators, like generate scaffold items, whatever, you could just say in your JSON schema, all the things like name, UPC, description, and then you would say in your JSON, like scaffold items, and then you could have it call that generator with the hook
If I
for.
wanted to split out my column, I could do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it just feels like it's nice to have everything in one place.
Yeah, I like this because it's like, how many times have I fat fingered a
Right, then you have to go back to
Yeah.
the left arrow, like,
Mhm.
where's the typo? Right?
Yeah, and then whereas this is like it's all in place. You can look at it and it is real. It solves a real problem, like a real pain.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, you're doing it for some other generator.
Mhm.
Right? Whereas he's just doing this for his specific
Right.
hard-coded generator.
Well,
But you
they-
could generalize this to use it.
Oh yeah, so they're going to maybe generalize it.
You could put like a field in here that says optional generator. If the generator's in the JSON, then just call that generator instead.
like this is like cleaned up. These would probably be split out and like, you know,
Yeah.
similar to how Rails has it, like the model migration goes together, the controller views go together, the route, you can have like whatever skips they have, fine as well, and then obviously test.
I think like the real beauty of this is that instead of messing around with command line, you're just editing JSON file, and being able to think about it and like just deal with that structure as opposed to like a very wide structure. And it's like the idea, like when you're doing the G sub to generate the items in the upper right hand corner, now that's really cool too.
Yeah.
Very well thought.
Just create an example of basically a join table in order with the join table with the user and an item. I have it smart enough to pick the select drop downs. Yeah, I think that's mostly it.
It's cool. So again, I'm like, that's really cool. That's really creative.
Okay, so why did you originally go down this route? What problem are you trying to solve?
the problem I was trying to solve is at work, we have a lot of boilerplate right now. A lot of it can probably be modified to do refactor, but in the meantime, we need to create new concepts. We have to copy a lot of stuff, and some of the things that we've been referencing are old, and they're not the right things to copy. You know, yes, probably some refactor too, but probably also some standardization is due. And I think having these decisions in a put in place as some kind of generator, so where if you need to change something, commit that change that you just use the right source going forward. That was my case for this, but generators are sorry, I think they're useful. I usually think like the scaffolds, like, oh, you use the scaffold that generates a very bare bones instruction. It's like that's great for a new app, but if you give them some attention, I think they can
Absolutely.
serve your needs.
You're giving me a lot to think about. This is fun. Yeah.
I know I get access to this repo. I want to play with it.
Build it yourself.
You underestimate my power.
Told you I had some
You over.
that's repo cleanup to do.
If only Anakin had said you overestimated
Yeah.
your power.
I'm just like, yeah, like this makes me excited to go play with generators. I've avoided, my entire career, I've kind of avoided generators. And now, like, this is a taste of what's possible. Like, yeah. That's cool. Also, kudos for Firefox.
You could have like a public origin for this and a private origin for this, and push this to the public origin, and then you can have your private.
Yeah,
origin.
this is no way like
Go your
this
own
is not even close to what stuff I'm actually working on.
I'm just saying you could add
This is
another
totally
origin
public.
and have that in a private repo if you want. But yeah, so this is kind of cool on its own.
Yeah, you can find based on generator. So yeah, the other reason for it to live in it, kind of a generator of I think Gen 2, but you can it needs Rails to run, but I think it's very version. Like there's only like 3 files that have to be there for the generator to work. Obviously it says everything under the sun right now, but this would be
Can't wait for the gem version. So I don't have to do it. So it's like, even simpler.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think we should call it out. So we would use Ruby and these examples. You can make a generator for you can use this generator to make other types of files too. So if we had like add
JavaScript.
JS class or whatever, it's like template.
Yeah, it's templates like
sample JS ERB. You can totally do that, right?
that feels weird.
But it would exist in this repo.
It would, yeah. But which might be valid. You might have JavaScript assets that you need to generate. But
Right.
you can use ERB for that.
I use Thor to generate make files for like Ruby projects or Alexa projects. Doesn't matter what it is, it's just text. The utility you're using to generate the text happens to be Ruby.
Yeah, that's all I have.
It's awesome.
with 15 minutes to spare. Do you have to stop the recording?
I'll do that.